not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
What do the numbers 0, 0, 0 for 6, 1, and 0 mean to you guys? Anything? No. It'll be D'Angelo Russell last night in that game against the Timberwolves.
I saw you pile on Twitter too.
Listen, you call it piling on. When that dude goes on a podcast like 2 weeks ago and says, was he talking to Kat on the podcast? It's like, when you look at the Timberwolves, it's like they got a couple things they could really use. They could really use a guy like you, Carl, and then they could really use a guy like me in that Timberwolves rotation right now. Yeah, last night they really could have used a guy like D'Lo.
You should thank D'Lo every single day because the Conley trade of D'Lo that facilitated him going to the Jazz, one of the most useful trades, arguably, Wolves history.
It was. That's probably a fun off-season list of. We've talked about the worst Wolves moves ad nauseum for 20 or 25 years.
Trade up there. The Googs trade, no question.
The Googs trade, Daniel Marshall
trade, great trade.
Yeah. And then, I think there's for sure 2 Tim Conley trades that deserve some recognition. It's a Feedback Friday here on Flagrant Howls, and it's crazy because as the Wolves continue to gain ground on the teams above them, like in terms of like the gap in games, they're still sitting here, I believe, because of tiebreakers in the 7 seed. Like they've won. What have they won now? Is it they're 13-3 in their last 16, and I think they've been maybe in the 6 seed for like one morning. So
Memphis
we can talk
won
about
last night. They beat
they had
Heat.
a little buzzer beater against the Heat last night.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about all that. We'll get to some Feedback Friday stuff here. A shout out to a Neos Elite Performance, Judd. Former Vikings head trainer has a new company. You can tell the audience.
Exactly right. You know what? If you are active or trying to get an edge in life, the expert at Neos Elite Performance can help you. So if chronic pain is slowing you down, Neos Elite Cutting Edge Regenerative Medicine and Cellular IV Therapy is designed to get you going again without invasive procedures. We're talking about white glove service delivered to your home. In other words, no trips to the doctors, no trips anywhere. They are going to come to you. So if back or knee pain is making everyday tasks feel impossible, stop the suffering now. Their therapies are designed to reduce pain, restore function, and get you back to doing what you love. It's really very, again, cutting edge stuff. So we are talking about if you're a person that's been dealing with pain for a while, they are going to take care of you, and you are going to be very pleased with the results. No surgery, no downtime, just results. Check them out and schedule an appointment at neoselite.com. That's Neos, Neos Elite.com, doing great work. And again, if you're in pain, stop that right now and check out neoselite.com.
Okay, I think we'll get to a couple really fun questions here, but the biggest buzz in terms of Feedback Friday on the Wolves portion of the internet last night, Anthony Edwards. It's a game that they're supposed to win. They're probably still tired from a couple nights ago. They're in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's terrible. And so the Wolves, it's kind of a workman-like, just stay up by like 8 or 10 points and get your victory, get out of Brooklyn. And at one point, Anthony Edwards in the second quarter in the right corner, wide open 3-point attempt, jumps up, cashes it, takes a step back. And Jordi Fernandez, the coach of the Nets, inexplicably is just walking right behind Ant as he's unloading this 3-point attempt. And it looked really bad. It was like, his ankle turned like 90 degrees. He laid on the ground for a few minutes. They had to carry him off the court. And then as we've seen probably 6 other times in Ant's career where it looks like, oh my God, he's out for the season and maybe next season too. He kind of just tapes it up, shakes it out, comes out a couple minutes early before the third quarter, gets some shots up, and I'm sure it's going to be sore for him, and he probably runs the risk of re-spraining the ankle. But what was Jordi Fernandez? It felt to me a little nefarious. I'm not saying he tried to injure Ant, but it felt to me like maybe he was walking over in his peripheral to try and like maybe distract him or something.
I don't know.
And he winds up right behind him. Like, dude, why are you standing there?
I have no idea. And if nothing else, I would hope that the NBA would send out an internal memo saying, if you're a coach and you're working the sideline, stay away from like where a player is, because he like wandered into where the action was, right?
He's like, why are you in the corner, dude? Go
exactly.
stand out by the scores
But I mean,
table.
you can see where the flow of the game is going. It's not hard. Yeah, so you could go the other way or just move a little bit. So I have no clue. But I will say this on Ant. Ant and Nas have the same thing. There are times I think they're dying. There are times where it's like, and Nas does the same thing. He does the Peter Griffin, and you're like, oh my God, Nas just turned something. This is not going to be good. And then sure enough, he goes and sits on the bench for a little while, comes back, he's fine. So it's gotten to the point now with Ant and Nas, because at first you're concerned, right?
Sorry, I don't know why that's not stopping.
Peter Griffin, stop it. I get the point.
Kind of works though.
Thank you very much. It's actually not bad. That's great that it's going on and on. But anyway, yes, I agree with you. Fernandez can't be there, but it also is a situation where we do grow very concerned, and Ant always inevitably seems to come back into the game.
Okay, are you buying the quotes here from Jordy Fernandez after the game? He says, I was out of bounds trying to move out of the way. I definitely have to be faster than that. Players' health is the most important thing in the game. So next time I will just have to move faster.
But why is he moving that way?
Why are you moving, period, over there? Like,
right.
you watched a million NBA games in your life, or college games, and sometimes maybe coaches wander. I've never seen a coach wandering the sidelines wander into the corner like that, unless it's like a dead ball situation and he's walking over. Usually they wander from maybe the 3-point line where it kind of breaks and curves and out by the scores table where there's just not a crowded space. That's why I say, I know like his quotes and people are saying, well, it was just kind of an unfortunate mistake. I legitimately think he's thinking in his head, if I can just like walk into his peripheral here. It reminded me of, who was it? Was it Jason Kidd who spilled the water cup on purpose because they were out of timeouts?
Yes. In fact, I think he was coaching the Nets at the time, right?
Yes.
Or was it the Bucks? But yes, he did. Yes, that's Jason Kidd.
And it's like, he's like pretending. And to me, like watching it back a few times, it felt to me like, oh, I need to go walk into the corner here to like position myself. And if I happen to be in Ant's peripheral and he bricks this 3-pointer, then I get the defensive assist here.
I'm not buying that quote. I agree with you. I'm not buying that. You know exactly where, like, how many games have you coached? Like, game flow is not new. So I would agree. Because I don't think he was trying to like purposely get stepped on, but it would make sense to try to like disrupt his line of vision or something. But yeah, that's just weird. Very weird.
Yeah. By the way, the Wolves are just right now. So I know they're still in the 7 seed, but because Memphis and the Wolves are now tied in the standings. Memphis won last night, but the Wolves have made up 4 games in the last 10 on Memphis. But because Golden State beat the Lakers and because the Wolves beat the Nuggets a couple nights ago, and then the Nuggets lost again, right? Because they were without Jokic and they just basically waved the white flag on that back-to-back. The Wolves right now, with 5 games left on their schedule, are just 2 games behind Denver for the 3 seed. So I know the Wolves still have like the Memphis game is going to be huge next Thursday, and then you got that Bucks game. Otherwise, it's another game against the Nets. You've got Utah to end the season. If the Wolves can go 5-0, which again remains a big if, but they have gone like 13-3 in their last 16.
Sure.
Well, it would get you to 50 wins, which everybody laughed at this show 3 weeks ago when we suggested that. But
yes, we all laughed at you.
Yeah, that's right. The world.
Actually, I was going to say it wasn't this. Just to be clear,
I was trying to give you guys credit for going along, but no.
You were on an island. You were a left tackle. Oh.
Not so funny now, is it? Now that they're within striking distance. Yeah. So if the Wolves can go 5-0 to get to 50-32, just looking at the Nuggets, and obviously like there's 3 other teams between them. If the Nuggets would have to go 4-1 to stave off the Wolves, I believe, because the Wolves have the tiebreaker by sweeping Denver. So it's going to get, if the Wolves take care of business, it's going to be really interesting to see how far up they can climb here. But then on the other side, if they don't take care of business, they're only a half game up on the Clippers for the 8th seed.
Right.
The Clippers do play the Warriors the last game of the year, so one of those 2 teams is going to take an L in that scenario. beating the Grizzlies would be massive because you would then officially kind of plug them back into the play-in. But this is going to be a wild 2 weeks with 5 games to go for the Wolves. They could literally land anywhere between the 3 seed and the 8 seed.
And Golden State's still incredible. Like, this is a great story. What a team now.
Yeah.
But I would like to see the Wolves. So just like a potentially realistic, but I think really fun scenario, and I think it's possible, is Wolves jump the Grizzlies. The Wolves get the 6th seed. Denver stays at 3. Wouldn't you love to see another first round or a first round between those two teams?
It would be wild. Yeah, it would further one of the best rivalries in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. If you're a Wolves fan, it's not like you're dead. Like, yeah, you beat them last year. You've had success. Joker scored 61 points on you, and you won the game. I think a 3-6 between Denver and the Wolves would be phenomenal basketball.
Yeah, you're also sitting there. The Lakers could wind up in that. The Warriors could still wind up in the 3. It could be like a 3-6 Warriors Wolves situation. Right now, the Lakers and the Warriors would play each other in the 4-5 game, which would be just a great kind of a symbolic end to a 15-year generation of like LeBron and Steph Curry and then both those teams loading up at the trade deadline. That'd be fun. If right now the Wolves would be in the play-in, if they beat the Clippers, they'd play the Rockets, the 2-seed Rockets. So, yeah, the Rockets are kind of solidly in there, 3 games up on the 3. But, yeah, this is as wild as it's been in the Western Conference in a long time.
It's obviously there's no like given of the best case scenario, but what would be the best case first round matchup for the Wolves in terms of just like them winning that series? Not in just terms of enjoyment and fun, but like what would be the best matchup for the Wolves in a first round series?
Is it Denver?
I was going to say the West is so tough now.
I know, it is tough. Yeah,
I'm not sure that there is like one.
But like, is it Denver? Like they swept Denver, they beat Denver in a 7-gamer last year. They played Denver really tough, super shorthanded 2 years ago.
The possibilities are what here? The possibilities are Denver,
Lakers,
Warriors,
and then Rockets if it's a play-in situation. Yeah. It would be tough mathematically because the Wolves and the Grizzlies play each other. I guess you could. It is possible for like a 6-3 Grizzlies Wolves. Whoever would win the game against each other next week would maybe vault up with a couple more wins to the 3. I don't think that's going to be the Grizzlies because they've been.
So let's go with Rockets, Nuggets, Lakers, and Warriors. Ranking them in if I'm the Wolves personally, who I would like to see. Number 1, I think I would take the Rockets just because they're a younger team. They're really good and up and coming, but I don't know that they're going to be as successful, at least this season, in the playoffs. I'd probably go Rockets, Nuggets, Lakers, and the team I'd probably like to face the least at this point would be Golden State.
Yeah, I would say, man, the thing about the Rockets are interesting because they're actually not a great shooting team. Like they do a lot of things really, really well, but could you come up with a defensive strategy and say, hey, inexperienced group of Rockets, you guys, they ranked to this point, they're tied for 21st in 3-point percentage. Could you come up with a defensive strategy where you just make them try to beat you with shooting? And like I think there's ways that now they're very well coached and they do a lot of really, really good things, but just the inexperience factor has to play in. The Nuggets are the devil, but they also have the best player in the world. Right. And like I know you just said, well, he dropped 61 points, triple-double, and you still beat him. Yeah, but like he's a cyborg and he can just kind of single-handedly win like 3 or 4 games in a playoff series. The Lakers and the Warriors are such huge unknowns right now because you haven't really played them in their current iteration. And the Warriors are now, I believe, is it 19-2 or 20-2 since the Jimmy Butler trade? And, when those guys are both on the court at the same time, Steph and Jimmy Butler. So they've tapped into something there. And then the Lakers, like Luka, clearly, like he's Luka, but he's not the same Luka that we've seen in years past. He probably needs an offseason. He's been banged up. He's been hurt. He was awful last night. But it's still LeBron and Luka. Yeah. You haven't played that iteration. I think the Wolves are deeper than the Lakers team. So I think you're right. Just long story longer. The Warriors are the team that would scare me the most. The Nuggets are the devil that you know, and you've got a confidence that you can beat that team. And the Rockets have the least experience, so it's probably Nuggets and Rockets, and then
I do think Denver. I think the one thing about the Nuggets that I would like in facing them is I do think the supporting cast does not scare me much at all. They've got the Joker, they've got a couple, 2 or 3 really good players, but after that, they don't really scare me.
We can probably add this to maybe we'll add this on Mondays for our State of the Wolves. But Basketball Reference gives likely playoff seeds like on their playoff probabilities. So right now, the Wolves have a 17% chance to be the 7th seed. 15% chance to be the 7th seed, assuming they're out of the play-in. So like they're indeed the 7th seed. They have a 21% chance to be the 6th, 21% chance to be the 5th, 19% chance to be the 4th, 8% chance to be the 3rd.
that's kind of crazy that they have a. It sounds like the 5 and the 6 are likely based on their schedule right now. So
yep, 5 and 6 are their highest probability for seeding right now.
yeah. A couple fun questions to throw at you guys here from the Flagrant Howls audience. Couple shout outs here. North American Banking Company powering Flagrant Howls throughout the season here and into the playoffs here. North American Banking Company, 6 locations in the Twin Cities: Maple Grove, Roseville, Shoreview, Hastings, Woodbury, 50th in France. And in getting to know over the last 6 months the people at North American Banking Company, I can tell you they specialize and they pride themselves in personal relationships and cutting edge online tools, whether it's for your checking and savings, like just kind of the basics, or whether it's something bigger. You're financing, maybe you're launching a business, or you're looking to buy a home and you need help with the mortgage process. Anything in between, North American Banking Company can help you. Like I said, a local Minneapolis, Twin Cities based banking company with 6 locations. nabankco.com/Mackey to learn more. That's nabankco.com/Mackey. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. And Judd's got his hockey gear on here today.
That's right. I got to check
Is
this
that the
out.
World Juniors? There it is, dude.
Indeed, boys. It
Love
is
that.
indeed. And that's because, and Sportsnet's been talking about this for a long time, but the World Junior Hockey Championships are coming here in December. And they are, if you are a hockey fan, they are 1,000% a bucket list item. You have to go. It's fantastic. They start December 26th, so the day after Christmas. They're going to be played at the X and also at 3M at Mariucci. This is the best annual tournament in hockey. It's a who's who of future pros, folks. It runs December 26th through January 5th, but you can lock in your tickets now. Group play packages on sale. Go to worldjuniorsmn26.com. That's worldjuniorsmn26.com. 16-game packages for Group A or Group B, prelim games, as well as quarterfinals, semifinals, and bronze and gold medal games. Absolutely fantastic. I think it is the best annual tournament in sports, certainly in hockey. So
Except the
check it
NBA in-season tournament, obviously.
No. That doesn't qualify. That's not even close. This is if you were to get all of the best young players from around the world together for a basketball tournament, that is what this is.
Yeah, that's what they do for the NBA in-season tournament.
Season tournament? No. I said young.
There's all the best players in the world play in the NBA. Tell me
some
where
of them
I'm
are
wrong.
long in the tooth. So some of them are very long in the tooth.
Yinka chimes in here on Wolves Twitter. He says, here's a question for Flagrant Howls. Which team wins a 7-game series against each other? Last year's Wolves versus this year's Wolves.
I love this.
I think I still lean last year's team. If you're just going with just the peak of what you know, the devil you know. We just said the devil you know and devil you don't know. That team went to the Western Conference Finals and was very honed and beat the Denver Nuggets, who were coming off a championship. I think I would still take last year's team, but it would be an awesome battle. I think it right now, though, I would still lean last year's team.
I'm torn on this. So I sat down with the box scores to look through what they did in the playoffs a year ago compared to what the expectation would be for this season. Here's where I'm torn. All right, so Cat in the playoffs was up and down, but defensively, we can all agree in the Suns and the Nuggets series, he was fantastic defensively. Julius, to me, brings more dog than Cat does, but Julius, as we talked about a month ago on this show, also has a spotty playoff record.
Yeah.
Now, here's one area where I think this year's team has a decided advantage, though. Bench, depth. Dante DiVincenzo. Like, if you go through, who did the Wolves bring off the bench last spring? Slow-Mo, Naz Reid, Monte Morris, and Na.
Yeah.
So you've got Naz, yes, Na, yes, they're back. But now you've got coming off the bench, Dante, who is a starter on most teams, I think, and Jalen Clark, who is an absolute shutdown menace on the basketball floor and whose play, I think, translates almost better to playoffs than it will regular season. I'm torn here.
I think it's this year's team. And, okay, this year's team could bow out in the second round or something, and then, maybe they get beat by the Warriors or something, get 6 games in the second round, and then you'll say, well, there it is. See, the 2023-24 Wolves went to the Western Conference Finals. But if it's just about last year's team versus this year's team, Judd, you nailed part of it, which is this team's deeper. You're basically swapping out it'd be Kyle Anderson and Karl Anthony Towns, and you're adding Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Clark, a better shooting version of Anthony Edwards. His offensive game has maybe dipped in a couple spaces, but assuming you're getting playoff Ant, who's a more honed 3-point shooter, Dante DiVincenzo adding the 3-point element that maybe you lose with Karl Anthony Towns. This team in the regular season unquestionably is a better offensive team than last year's team. They're tied for 9th in offensive net rating. They were like outside the top half of the league last year. Mm-hmm. Now, last year was the number 1 defense net rating, but they're 5th now. So it's like they're still a really high-end defense, especially when they fully engage for some of these games. I think it'd be a 7-game series, and one factor would be the Julius versus Cat. And when you go back and look at when those guys played each other with Julius on the Knicks and Cat on the Wolves, Cat ran into foul trouble a lot. Like in the last 2 games they played against each other, Knicks and Wolves, when Julius was a Knick and playing, both guys were playing. Cat racked up like 11 total fouls in those 2 games. Yep. Now, Cat would get his offense in. Julius had a 57-point game in a game in which Cat did not play. Taurean Prince had like 8 3-pointers in that one in the Garden. But yeah, like, if you're getting playoff Julius and Cat, you're getting like a lesser version of both those guys.
Right. That's the funny thing about it. Yes. The one thing that I what has occurred to me too about the 2024-25 Wolves, the Nuggets playoff win was super impressive. Like, there is no denying that was, because that was a good team and they beat them. I think if the Wolves, depending on who they play, and I think the first round matchup this season, no matter what, is going to be tougher. But I think one thing that has to be factored in now in retrospect as well is we all thought that when the Suns beat the Wolves at Target Center at the end of last season, that, oh boy, Suns are going to win, right? But the reality is this. The Suns team that the Wolves beat in the first round last year is very much was beginning on the trajectory, I think now in hindsight, of what we've seen from the Suns this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know that, like, that was a nice series win. I'm not trying to take from that, but I also think we have to remember that in retrospect now, that was not like a great Suns team. It was probably a Suns team that was inevitably starting to slide and now has slid. So when we talk about the Wolves a year ago, I think, Denver, unbelievable, great. The Suns win now, I'm not saying it's tainted, but it probably wasn't as good as we thought based on where the Suns were going. And because right now, I think they've sort of ended up where that team was starting to slide to.
They just needed a little nudge.
Yeah,
to
well, teams get
the Wolves
old.
gave them the nudge.
Yeah, teams get old. Teams start to fall off, right? They were falling off. I just don't think that we acknowledged it or knew it as much at the time.
Yeah, they weren't. They were talented and they owned the Wolves in the regular season, but sometimes a group is maybe ready to start booking tea times.
And the Wolves,
like they knew they weren't going to make a championship run, and the Wolves drew it out of them. That's a perfect word, though.
The Wolves just nudged them. You guys sort of suck now. Don't worry about it anymore. And they're like, okay, yeah, thank you.
Here's one more real quick from Rick. Tepid take, he says. If the Wolves win the LOB this year, if they win the whole thing, they go through the They go through the Nuggets again.
Tepid take. I love
Tepid
how he
take,
said-
they win the whole thing. I'm really
Yep.
curious where this goes.
That's only the qualifier for his take that I'm about to get to, by the way.
Okay.
So tepid take. If the Wolves win the whole thing, and you guys do a new top 100 Wolves, Anthony Edwards has to be number one above K. He would go Anthony Edwards number one, KG number two, and then he would also put KG three. Okay. Wait, 3 through 6. He says Ant number one, KG number two, 3 through 6 would be the rest of this year's starting lineup. Okay, so like Rudy, Conley, etc. And then 7 would be Cat, 8 Nas, 9 Nikhil, 10 Dante DiVincenzo.
Okay, I agree with the first part totally. If they win the LOB and
he's-
Ant
That's the main part.
clearly
of the take.
plays a
Yeah.
key role, he is
100%.
number one, 100%.
100%. Yep.
After that, no, I don't have to put you. You don't have to put the.
Well,
the
Gobert already
remainder-
to me is a top 5
yeah,
Wolf.
but I'm just saying, like Conley wouldn't. I don't think Conley would become a top 5. What, top 5 guy? Top 6
Would
guy
Conley
then?
jump Karl Anthony Towns? No, probably not.
No.
But yeah, I mean Anthony Edwards, and presumably Anthony Edwards
Well,
would be the MVP of the finals.
didn't
We're
you say,
getting
Phil,
way
that-
ahead of ourselves here, but
When you, I think Dex was gone. When you gave me the updated list last week, didn't you say that if they make another playoff run, Ant goes to the top of your list, above KG?
I think that was a hottest take episode.
I was
Okay.
on that, yeah.
But yeah, I said my hottest take is if the Wolves get back to the Western Conference Finals led by Anthony Edwards, then you have to start considering resume versus resume.
Yes.
That was also, again, the hottest Wolves takes edition
Yeah.
of the show.
I like tepid takes. Let's mix in tepid takes Tuesday on Flagrant Howls. Tepid takes Tuesday. Got some alliteration there. I like
Tepid,
it.
write that down.
It's a take, but it's like, it's like a lukewarm take kind of a
Tepid
thing.
takes Tuesday.
But yes, Ant, if they make another big run, I could see an easy case for displacing KG.
Yeah, right. I
Okay,
mean, KG did it for 12 incredible years. He was an MVP. I mean, there's some things that Ant has
Remember
to
the
do,
Mackey rules: peak greatness.
but- Yeah.
And if you get them to the Western Conference Finals or beyond, that's some darn good peak greatness.
It is. It is. So, all right, there's your Feedback Friday edition here, Flagrant Howls. 5 games to go. Can the Wolves climb up the ladder in the Western Conference? Or are they going to just be stuck in the 7-seed mud?
Can
We'll
Memphis
find out.
just lose out, please?
Well, the Wolves have a say in that because like those two teams are going to play each other, and it's going to be a huge high leverage game next week. It's going to be awesome. All right, he's the sports dad, Judd. He's producer Dex. I am Phil, and this is a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.